Every great leader needs to have a reliable right-hand man, and this man in particular became the second authority of most of the gangs he joined. That man is none other than Kakucho Hitto, the Brawler. Kakucho is an earnest and loyal character who's first introduced to us in the Tenjiku arc. During his time at school, Kakucho met Takemichi and the two went on to become close friends. After this, however, Kakucho's family got into an accident that claimed the lives of his parents. Thus, Kakucho was left with a scar and admitted into an orphanage. One day, while making a makeshift grave for his parents, Kakucho met Izana, who gave Kakucho a newfound purpose by making him live as Izana's servant. Kakucho and Izana grew up together like brothers in the orphanage. They dreamt of making a kingdom where orphans like them could seek shelter. That kingdom would be named Tenjiku. But if you want to be a part of my kingdom, then make sure to like and subscribe to see more content like this. Eventually, Izana created the Tenjiku gang and Kakucho became one of its 4 heavenly kings. Later, at one of Tenjiku's hideouts, Kakucho welcomes Takemichi, Chifuyu, and Toman's 4th Division twins with an assembly of 100 men. But Kakucho decides to fight alone, and after throwing the fight, he speaks with Takemichi, who finally remembers Kakucho as his old childhood friend. They reminisce on their history and acknowledge their accomplishments as delinquents. However, Kakucho is now devoted to Tenjiku's leader, Izana, and declares Toman and Takemichi as his enemies. Thus, as a dedicated follower, Kakucho asks Takemichi to save Izana from Kisaki's manipulation. He disagrees with the conflict between their gangs. Then, when Takemichi travels back to the present to further investigate the Tenjiku conflict, Kakucho meets Takemichi in the back alleyway of Taiju's restaurant. He's instructed by Izana to kill Takemichi, and he obeys. Back in the past, Kakucho objected to Izana's decision to instigate conflict against Toman, and wonders why Izana trusts Kisaki and Hanma so much, but Izana tells him it's the only way to defeat Toman. On the night of the fight at Yokohama Bay, Takemichi confronts Kakucho and he questions him about Emma's death, but Kakucho stays silent. Takemichi tells Kakucho he'll take back Koko and settle the conflict with Tenjiku, but Kakucho says he can't take back Koko because he chose to join himself. Takemichi attacks him out of rage and initiates the fight, until they're interrupted by Angry's awakening. Kakucho watches the fight until Mucho unveils a knife. He stops Mucho and warns him not to get corrupted by Tenjiku. Kakucho then brawls with the rest of the Toman members until Takemichi is the only man left standing. As a kid, Kakucho lost against a group of children his age who fought dirty. Takemichi promised to avenge him, but Kakucho swore he'd get his own revenge because he wanted to be stronger. In the present, Takemichi congratulates him on gaining that strength, but questions why he chose to join a group of murderers. While fighting Takemichi, Kakucho tells him that he's a different person now. Kakucho believes that others don't understand the bond that orphans share, so when faced by a childhood friend, he's able to kill them. After being beaten, Kakucho warns Takemichi that he'll die if he continues to fight. But before he can be finished, Chifuyu steps between them and admits Toman's defeat. However, Takemichi refuses to lose and says that Kakucho doesn't have the determination to finish him. This stuns Kakucho, but Kisaki moves him aside and points a gun at Takemichi. Being incapable of using the gun, Kisaki is interrupted by Izana, who fights Takemichi until Mikey's arrival. Once Izana realizes he's losing, he steals Kisaki's gun, but Kakucho talks him out of it and admits Tenjiku's defeat, saying he doesn't want to see Izana in such a poor state. He tries to reason with Izana, but is suddenly shot by Kisaki as he and Izana argue. Kakucho attempts to stop Kisaki but is protected by Izana, who pushes him aside and shields him from Kisaki's bullets. And while he's on the ground, wounded, Izana tells Kakucho he's the only person he truly has. As Izana dies and Kakucho mourns his death, snow begins to fall and Kakucho reminisces on their time together in the orphanage. A few days later in the hospital, Takemichi visits Kakucho. He regretfully guilts himself for surviving the Kanto incident and causing Tenjiku's downfall, but Takemichi tells him that Tenjiku's dreams depend on him. After being discharged from the hospital, Kakucho visits the orphanage where he and Izana first met. He builds Izana a small grave similar to the one he built for his parents, and places one of Izana's earrings on top of the grave, bidding him farewell. Then, Takemichi returns to the present, where Mikey is now the leader of the worst organization known as Bonten, and Kakucho is Bonten's number 3. However, to prevent this timeline, Takemichi returns to the past again, but this time he leaps 2 years less to the Three Deities era. After Izana's death, Kakucho was forced to join Rokuhara Tandai after losing a fight against Terano South. He wanted the strength of Tenjiku's strongest, and Kakucho became Rokuhara's number 2. During the battle of the Three Deities, Kakucho approaches Mikey and forces him to fight. Mikey's dark impulse is awakened and he sends Kakucho flying. Furthermore, Mikey kills South and the battle ends in Kanto Manji Gang's victory. Following the battle, the higher-ups of Rokuhara Tandai join the Kanto Manji Gang, and Kakucho is now their defense captain. On the day of the final battle between the Kanto Manji Gang and the newly formed Tokyo Manji Gang, Kakucho challenges Takemichi, but Takemichi finds the resolve and lands a clean hit on Kakucho, shocking everyone. Kakucho lays on the ground until Mikey says it's about time they witnessed a feared brawler of Tenjiku, and he asks if Izana died for this, but Kakucho tells him he'll never understand. Kakucho then confronts Takemichi and says that his childhood hero is back, but during their fight, Takemichi has a vision of Sanzu using the train to kill all of Toman. He realizes he doesn't have much time and decides to confide in Kakucho. In the end, Kakucho believes his friend, and they call a truce until Sanzu is defeated. Sanzu then initiates the fight, and Kakucho protects Takemichi from his sword. Revealing his true colors, Kakucho tells Sanzu that he never liked him, but the feeling is mutual. After Kakucho lost his family in the car accident, he threw away his family name, and decided to live alone. However, meeting Izana and Takemichi again changed him. Kakucho decides to fight for Takemichi, and after being slashed by Sanzu, he says it wasn't such a bad life. But that's it for Kakucho's story. As of this recording, the manga hasn't ended, and this is everything we know about him. If you want to see more Tokyo Revengers content like this, then make sure to like and subscribe as it greatly supports my channel. Also, let me know your thoughts on Kakucho and who you'd like to see next. But with that being said, I'm Traffy, and I'll see you in the next one.